Hello traders and welcome to today's market update. My name is Nick and today I'm going to be taking a look at some of the major currency pairs with you as well as gold and oil, and we're going to break down things step by step, take a look at some of the different setups and movements that are going on in the market currently. Let's go ahead and dive in here. First, starting off with euro dollar here, taking a look on the 4-hour chart, we're going to see what kind of stuff is going on. You can see price did get a rebound in the last kind of start of the week here. You can see we are at the start of a week. It is a Monday at the time of recording this. And what you'll see is price is starting to rebound off of these recent lows. Now, we talked about last week the fact that we did get kind of a pin bar right around this area. So you can see we kind of saw a pin bar come into play. You can see price is rebounding strongly. We have some levels to watch out for. Again, we have some structural points here. Price is currently coming into kind of a major level here, which we will want to watch to see how price reacts. Now, if price does continue to break through this structure and we see another rally, we might very well be headed up to test this structure here. Now, why would we want to test that structure? Well, again, this is a major level of barrier for resistance points or sellers in the past, right? We saw multiple times where price sold off from this level, and currently price is breaking through this level currently to see if we can get through and continue up to a level like this one. So euro dollar does have some momentum here starting out the week. We'll see if we can get kind of a bigger rebound than this, as price is a little bit still on the oversold side. You can see if we kind of draw this general channel down here, you can see along this path, along the way, price has been holding that level relatively well, as buyers will step in along the way, usually along this line. You can see we did get that pin bar printed along that trend line. GBPUSD is the next one we're going to take a look at, guys. GBP pairs sold off heavily last week, as we did have some more Brexit stuff going on, with Boris Johnson saying the things and causing some trouble for the pound. We saw a major sell-off recently, and now currently seeing some interesting price action as price does stall to kind of a back and forth choppiness factor right around these lows. Now, what you can see with the pound is you're going to see this across all GBP pairs for the most part right now, is we're seeing kind of that choppy back and forth kind of indecisive movement. Now, this makes sense because investors and traders are looking at this and things are very, very uncertain when it comes to taking a look at the pound right now. So again, back and forth motion. If we see some sort of breakout, we talked about this last week briefly, if we see some sort of break high or low, might be an opportunity to trade the retest, either high or low, right? So if we see that structure pattern come into play on the long side or short side, there may be some opportunities there if we wait for some sort of confirmation. Next up is USDJPY, which has absolutely sold off like crazy, breaking through recent lows. What you can see is right here, this level here that was acting as a potential support, now acting as a potential resistance, right? So sellers stepped right through this level. They broke through that level and we saw some continuation to the downside as this long-term trend is continuing here on that daily time frame. So where are some levels to watch for? Well, if you actually kind of zoom out just a little bit here and we kind of get this full picture, you can see that this area here, back from where we had the flash crash, you can see this area right here, we did get a significant bounce off of that low, even in the context of a kind of flash crash that we did see a couple months ago, right around January. So if price does come down to that level, we may see a major price spike up from here. That's just an idea based on kind of what we saw previously in the markets. Of course, there's no guarantees, but we want to stack the odds in our favor, and we saw such a bullish reaction last time that there's a good chance we see some sort of reaction there again. Now, in the time being, if we do get a pullback maybe to this structural level, you may be able to find some sort of trade setup here, right? So again, sellers very strong still in this area, but we could see a reaction, especially with prices being a little bit stretched to the downside, right? If we see some sort of bounce, we could find a rollover effect in this area to continue that downtrend again, to test maybe that long-term low that we just got done identifying. Brent crude is the next one, guys, which has been sold off very heavily recently. So we've seen crude oil come down in the last couple days, and as well as kind of the longer term. Looking at the daily chart, you can see we have had kind of an overall sell-off. We did get a big rally from right around, where is that? We got a rally right at the start of the year up until mid-April, end of April, right? And so now we're seeing kind of sellers continue to push down. Now, I do want to identify our trend line that we've talked about the last couple of streams or last couple of videos, right? You can see these levels here along this trend line acting as kind of sell point. Let's go ahead and make this just black. And what you can see is, again, sellers coming down and touching, again, pushing price down each time price came back to touch this trend line. Now this recent low is one to watch. So we have this level here as a potential level of short-term support. So maybe on the intraday level, we'll see some sort of bullishness. But I think that as this trend comes to kind of continuation here, right? If price can keep channeling back and forth, you're going to see some sort of break from this structure. You can see price back and forth is likely to happen as we have continued to see selling off down here, as well as kind of buyer support along these lower levels. So if we can see some sort of back and forth motion, we may get something kind of like a break, retest, and continuation, or break, retest, and continuation. Either ways, we want to be adaptive and look for opportunities, you know, without some sort of bias on the market. We want to be open to whatever the market kind of decides and look to, look for opportunities within that. WTI crude is going to look pretty similar here, guys, but we'll take a look at kind of the daily chart here just to give us a picture. Again, drawing that same general trend line, you can see that sellers are still in control of this market, and we actually kind of had a wedge formation here. And you can see price did break through the lows here. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can get something happening here. If price will rebound and continue lower, we'll have to see. We'll have to watch and look for some sort of confirmation, whether it be a candlestick pattern or some other factor, right? So if we get some sort of pullback up into this area, we may see sellers step in and push us back down to recent lows. Again, same general structure as with Brent crude oil. Gold is our next one, guys, which is flying high. Gold is at a kind of recent high for quite some time. You can see really pushing up through these recent highs. Now, what we had talked about several times on the last couple streams when it came to kind of these market updates is we had talked about the fact that this this bull flag had actually kind of come to fruition, right? So you can see here's our pull, here's our flag. We did break up through that level. We retested kind of the general area, and now we're shooting up just as we had talked about. Again, those patterns are very universal, and they can be very strong. So again, we had sellers coming into this market, but we did get that break. We pulled back, and now continuing the kind of pattern higher. Now we'll see if we can continue to break higher as price is overall relatively high. But again, gold is one of those things that I say on most of these streams that can continue to trend very strongly. And so I would rather not fight the trend. I'd rather look for confirmation that we might see some sort of continuation rather than some sort of reversal. Euro Canadian is going to be the next one, as we have some really interesting stuff going on with this currency pair. What you can see here, if I kind of identify this high, is that we are currently breaking up through some of these recent highs. Now, if I make that pink, you can see here is a level of resistance in this market that had multiple times been respected as kind of a level for a barrier for sellers to step in. So what you can see is price is currently trading above that area. We've closed above it on a 4-hour time frame, which is significant. So we will see if we can get some sort of continuation. Now, one thing to add here is that if you are more of a conservative breakout trader and you're looking for a retest, well, we might be able to see one if price can come down into these areas along these kind of recent peaks. If we find something there, might be an opportunity to look for confirmation and look for a trade set up there on the long side to kind of join this existing move. EURGBP is another one that I want to cover. We go back to the weekly really quick. You can see price is kind of floating up towards this kind of pivotal point here, which is that long-term kind of high point that we had talked about a couple times on the last couple streams. So EURGBP kind of floating its way up there, and we will see if price can finally reach that kind of point and what will happen there. I think that there's a good chance that sellers will probably be enticed to try and sell this thing off, and buyers might get a little bit scared in front of this big level of resistance. So we will see if that will happen. Of course, there's no sorts of guarantees, but there are opportunities and probabilities that you can play. The last one we're going to take a look at here, guys, is New Zealand dollar, which is coming into a long-term low, actually potentially going to form a triple bottom here. So what we can see here is I can draw this kind of level here. Price is currently testing this recent low. So right around this area, we've had multiple times where buyers have kind of stepped in and pushed sellers back. You can see right here, we got a major bounce off of this level of right around, what is that, 200 pips or so, right around that vicinity. And here we actually got a really big rally of nearly 300 pips. So again, currently testing that area to see if we can get some sort of continuation of that recent support or kind of demand zone that we've seen on this market. Guys, I hope you got something out of this video. Thanks so much for joining me, and we will see you next time.